people all over with huge bags, probably in preparation to go to this unknown place that they were going to take us to.
I guess a lot of people can't understand that when they put you in a camp and they got the guns pointing in towards you. It's not. It's a summer camp.
Because it was a long trip. It was 5 days and 4 nights.
I still was loyal to the United States.
What they did at that time was they gave us the questionnaires.
I'm so humbled to be part of Brian Maida's film on Tule Lake. This is the untold story of a painful time in American history.
I'm Brian Maeda, Brian Tadashi Maeda, the writer and director of this film, We Said No No.
The film is what we call a docudrama, a documentary with interviews of the people who were in Tule Lake and the dramatization of events that occurred with actors.
I was born in Manzanar, which was one of the 10 so-called relocation camps. My family spent 3 years there. And the connection between Manzanar and Tule Lake is that when the loyalty oath questionnaire came out, 2,000 people from Manzanar, that's 2,000 out of 10,000 who were imprisoned there, were sent to Tule Lake, the camp for the disloyals.
This loyalty questionnaire, any person, man or woman, alien or citizen over 17 years of age, was to fill this questionnaire out.
And then when it came to 27 and 28, oh my gosh, I just stopped dead over there. I just read those 2 questions over and over. I took my time and read it over and over and over. Well, 27, I answered no. And then the 28 answer, that took a longest time. I just read over and over. And now, what is government trying to do to me,
28 basically stated, are you willing to give up your loyalty to the emperor?
I have to reaffirm myself that, about the civil rights. I said, this is really fishy, funny. The government's up to something, I felt. And I said, so I didn't answer that.
I don't know exactly why. Well, I guess I renounced the citizenship. That's one reason. And on top of that, listening to the radio, all that kind of thing, they shipped me to Tule Lake.
I did answer as no. And then that put me in a position to be transferred to Tule Lake.
My next door neighbor, Kenzo Kirohiro, a couple of months before he died, we were just chatting outside in the front lawn, and he said to me, did you know I was in Tule Lake? And I said, really? He said, well, I knew you were in Manzanar, but I didn't know you went to Tule Lake. And he says, yeah, I was in Manzanar, with your family. And one day, the colonel came from the army to interview me. And so he asked me if I wanted to volunteer to fight for my country. And Kenzo says, oh, what am I going to fight for? This sagebrush out here? This desert? After you take everything away from my family, now I'm going to go fight? For what? And the colonel looked at him and said, well, Mr. Kirohiro, I feel for your sentiments, and I understand where you're coming from. Yeah. Kenny got hot. He got mad. And he said, then Kenny said that the very next week, my whole family was shipped to Tule Lake because I told the truth. And Kenny was 26 years old at the time. And he goes, you know what my job was in Manzanar? I was the leader of the Boy Scout troops. I would march the troops out every morning, and they would blow the bugle, raise the American flag. That's what I did. And so because I did not want to fight, they sent all of us to Tule Lake for the so-called no-no people. This story is based not only a mammoth amount of research that I've done, but also the book called Doing Field Work by Rosalie Wax. She was a young graduate student anthropologist from Berkeley who was asked if she wanted to go to Tule Lake and do a study on the Japanese people, just as we had done with the American Indians. Now that we've got them all in one place, this could be a very important study, especially after the war is over, on how they reacted to the war, the situation they were put in, etc., etc. So Rosalie Wax goes to Tule Lake, and she's like this naive, almost innocent, if you will, young graduate student. She'd never really done any work in anthropology, sent to Tule Lake to study the Japanese people. And so thus began her adventures in learning about the dissident people, if you will, those who fought for the civil rights in this camp of so-called disloyal Japanese.
I did get the bright idea of interviewing the people who had said they were disloyal, approaching them and asking me if they would tell me about their feelings.
And I got the rights to this book to use in the film.
The other part of what fills out the essence of the story is Inoue Sensei's diary.
This diary was given to me by his daughter, Nancy Oda.
Inoue Sensei was a judo sensei, almost 6 foot tall, a very tall gentleman who taught judo. And at this time in history, Americans thought, judo was like this very dangerous, oriental art that could kill you, with one touch. And that, teaching this in Tule Lake was, a very dangerous thing. So, Inoue Sensei happened to be at the meeting of the negotiating committee. And so he was later picked up for being part of this group that supposedly started a riot, which was total fabrication. And Inoue Sensei was taken out of his barracks, where he was with his wife and 2 young daughters, and put in the military stockade as a prisoner. And the only charges given were that he was at that meeting. He didn't even belong to the group. But Inoue Sensei kept a record of what they did every day. So he kept this diary of what happened every single day in that prison for 7 months. So Inoue Sensei's diary speaks about all the people who were thrown into this prison, and for these troublemakers who were the biggest charges. It wasn't that you killed someone, you robbed someone, you beat somebody up. No, you were a troublemaker. And they ultimately built a permanent prison that's the only standing structure at Tule Lake. We've got a great location at Fort MacArthur, which is a living museum today that was once a functional World War II battery. We've got a barracks there that we're going to use as the temporary prison that they were thrown in. A lot of armored vehicles, and they all run. Access to the armory with their M1 rifles, Tommy guns, and machine guns.
This is a tremendous opportunity for us in establishing what the climate was like at Tule Lake.
We have Jimmy Murakami has come on board as the production designer. He is essentially Clint Eastwood's production designer. His last movie was American Sniper, Jersey Boys, Iwo Jima, and on and on.
And he has done all the preliminary sketches, the layout of what we need to do at Fort MacArthur.
Jimmy is like 85 years old now. And you know what? He was at Tule Lake as a child. So he knows what that was about.
His lot is truthful and very meaningful because it goes into detail of all the happenings. And I recall when I was 12 or 13 at that time, that you realize all this was happening, and then to read the script and see that, that was the reason why. That was the reason why. Being 13-year-old, you don't really think in that term, but the reading after all these years, which is over 70 years ago, that you kind of flash back and see it. And I know a lot of people say that, when you say concentration camp, right away they say, well, it wasn't like the German prison camp. Well, it wasn't in a way, but it was still, I guess a lot of people can't understand that when they put you in camp and they got the guns pointing in towards you, that it's a summer camp, that we were, because of our race and and we were put in camps.
And in fact, he even marched around with the Hoshdan, the pro-Japan group that was formed there as a resistance to the workings of the government institution that was forcing them, to kowtow to their will, if you will. And so many of these Japanese people, who were firm believers in Bushido, and we're prideful people. Japanese are prideful people. They don't take insult well.
Ikumi Yoshimatsu is a great find. She's going to be playing the character of Hatsujo. Ikumi has a tremendous stage presence, having been Miss International 2012, and a very deep understanding of the issues of women today.
I'm Ikumi Yoshimatsu. I play the role of Hatsujo. This strong, beautiful woman, Hatsujo, is one of the forgotten tragedies of Tule Lake. She was a haiku poet from a samurai family who had a remarkable perception of the things she saw. She immigrated to the United States to start her new life and find her dreams. But in the end, her husband used her as human collateral to pay for his gambling debt. I feel a deep connection with Hatsujo to bring her story to life and give her a voice. As a women's rights activist in Japan, thousands of women have shared their own story of fear and exploitation with me. I think of all of them as I play this role. The sadness of Hatsujo-san is in all of us. I'm so humbled to be part of Brian Midas' film on Tule Lake. This is the untold story of a painful time in American history.
In the Japanese American community today, many people are still very prejudiced against people in Tule Lake, the so-called no-no people, almost like outcasts. And you will find Tule Lake people everywhere. They don't necessarily want to admit to it because there's a stigma against it. But you know what? Today, the no-no people were the bravest people to speak out against the government, to say, basically, we're not going to take this anymore. And Tule Lake became the largest of all the 10 camps, housing over 18,500 people. There was a standing battalion of 1,000 men strong, bivouacked right outside of Tule Lake. I mean, this is really the story of overkill when you really start to get into it, And when you put someone in this position who has not done anything, not committed a crime, and just summarily round them up, that causes for a lot of consternation and anger. So this is what we're going to capture in this story, the lives of what happened to these people at Tule Lake. Look forward to the film. It'll be coming to your neighborhood soon.